Today we want to talk about your kids don't want that.
Because they don't.
They don't.
They really
No.
don't.
Heck, I don't want to have it.
I was reading an article about exactly that.
Yeah.
That, you know, boomers, the people my age, are downsizing, moving to smaller places, or in my case, not moving, but decluttering things and going through things. And nobody wants the china.
No, they don't want. Well, what I have are dolls that my grandmother had, and my kids don't want them.
Oh, and I have Barbies. I have my original Barbies.
Oh.
So they're not in pristine condition because they were played with.
Yeah.
But I have granddaughters, and I think probably somebody does want the Barbies.
Yeah. Well, they're not evil looking.
They're not evil looking. They're worn a little bit, or I don't know. Ken had a hard life. I don't know why he looks so worn, but
Well, he was one man with all those girls.
that's probably true. There were many Barbies and Skipper.
Oh, I love Skipper. That's what I had.
You had Skipper.
Yeah, I had Skipper.
And I have even the little shoes and that kind of stuff. Probably not all of them, but a fair amount of those kind of things. But what you have is a different kind of a doll, but also maybe collectible.
We're going to go to I don't know. Okay, let me rephrase that. We have applied for the lottery for the Antique Roadshow because it is a Shirley Temple doll. And so we don't know if it's worth much. It looks like it might be, but we'll keep it. But the girls really don't want it. I have 2 daughters and a granddaughter, and they
don't want it at all.
They don't. They looked at it and they were like, "That's evil. Get that away from me. That is scary." I'm like, "Well, it's my grandmother's,
Temple, right?
It's Shirley Temple. It was your great grandmother's. It was my grandmother's." They're like, "I don't care. It's evil." I'm like, "What if it's worth $600? It's still evil."
Okay, so just not interested.
They're not interested. So I don't know. Maybe somebody will be interested. We'll update you if we get in.
Well, I think as you go through things, whether it's a move or whether you're just pretending to move,
right? Or you're just decluttering.
Well, and some of that for me in retirement is wanting to use the space differently.
Right.
So I want to use my basement space differently than what it's been, which has just been mostly storage. And so as you go through things, there are things that I've got zones. So this just needs to be tossed. This could be donated. Somebody could use this. I think the kids might want this.
Yeah.
And then there's the keep.
Okay.
And sometimes you have to sort of work your way through that stuff.
Do you move them from pile to pile sometimes? Like it's not once it's in one pile, you're like, okay, I could move that.
So I do.
Okay.
And actually some of the stuff that I had in the toss pile, the kids wanted. Some of the stuff that I had in the I'm going to keep this pile after consideration, so I had the greeting cards from my high school graduation.
I love that.
Yeah.
I
went through them and I enjoyed.
And did you remember like each person?
I did.
That's
but most of those, my kids don't even know those people. A lot of those people are gone.
They're like, oh, they had cards back then.
Yeah. Now I have also the cards from their graduations, and those went in the bucket for them.
Maybe the want it pile.
And some of those are hard choices.
Yeah.
There are things that you don't think are going to be hard choices that end up being a little harder than I think what I originally thought they would be anyway. But one of the things for me is if I haven't used it,
right,
somebody else could use it.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
And so there are places where you can donate those things. In my case, because I have retired, some of that are professional work clothes that
we're retired.
It's not that I'm never going to do anything that requires me to look a little dressier,
but probably not have a closet full.
But it's limited, and there are some Dress for Success organizations that work with women that may need those.
Yep.
There's for kitchen things, there are places to donate. And for Habitat for Humanity is a great
Yes, I
place
love
for
them.
things that
Yep.
can be reused.
My dad was there all the time when he could drive, when they lived here and when he could drive. He would go there and would come home with stuff. And then he would rent stuff. Well, because you could rent
'Cause you
this
could
tool.
rent- Yeah.
And I was like, but what are you going to use that for? What do you build it? I don't know. But I got it for a week. And it cost me $5.
Because it's a deal, right? It's a good charity
Yep.
and it's a deal. The other thing that I sort of struggle with this one, and you won't be surprised to hear that, there are some things that are usable that you could sell, but that's quite a bit of work sometimes
is.
to, there's Poshmark, there's Etsy, there's what's the other one?
Facebook Marketplace, not Marketti, starts with an M.
There's Mercati.
Mercati.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce it.
Well, it's not Marketti.
But there are those types of things like Poshmark's great for purses
Yes.
and shoes
Uh-huh.
and jewelry
And some
that sort of
designer
thing.
clothes, if you have like designer labels.
And designer clothes. But I think especially like Facebook Marketplace, I know we've done a couple of things.
We've done furniture.
And there's some cautionary things, with selling things where someone comes to your house to pick it up.
Yeah. We have done 2 different ways where we've met people in like a Walmart parking lot. We've also just said, come to our house, but not in the house. Like we sold a buffet table. And so we already had it outside and we just waited for them, helped them load it out. So they were like not inside the house or the garage, just at the house. Because at first I was really not feeling that. I'm like, I don't think I really want strangers at my house. Why are you giving that out?
I feel differently about it
Because I
if you have a garage sale.
We have garage sales and we're posting our address on Facebook.
Right?
Like,
But this feels different.
It does. It does. So, my husband was like, you need to just get over it. Like, okay.
Because I think some things like electronics, like we had an extra printer once we consolidated offices and, some of those kind of things, it really works well for. But you sort of have to analyze,
Right.
Is it worth it or
is it worth your time?
Or is it better to just donate?
And for those, what I love, because a lot of places don't take electronics anymore. They won't take computers or printers, scanners. Like I don't know many people who have individual scanners, but they don't take those things. So what we've done is taken like old electronics to Best Buy. If you have a Best Buy in your area, they will actually just take them. They used to charge, they stopped charging. While you're watching this, I have no idea what they're doing.
So maybe
a call ahead.
Yeah.
But you can take those cell phones. If you have a cell phone that you don't want anymore, my husband has done the factory reset and then he has sold them on eBay and he sold them for $70, $80, $110. There's some that really wouldn't sell for that much. So we've taken them to the police department.
And we've done that too.
Yeah,
and
and
that's a great program.
I love that. I don't know what the program's called, but what they do is they reprogram them and then they give them to women who are coming from abusive situations and that are in the hideaway houses, I guess. I don't remember what the term is exactly, but they'll give them to them so that they have a way to communicate.
And so maybe call your local police department and see if they have a program like that.
Yep, it's a great one.
And then there are, if you have a favorite charity that has a thrift shop, like we have Rescue Pets.
Yes.
And so there are a couple of charities in here in our city that have thrift shops that I feel, I guess, good about donating to them because they resell them and they use them because they fund no-kill shelters.
Because we can only have so many animals.
Right.
So we can't save and rescue all the animals.
But that's, as you're going through things, sort of a thought process that you have to go through is this worth selling and am I comfortable with that?
Right.
Or is there good value to donate?
Right.
as well.
So do you still have your wedding dress? Because that's where I'm at right now is two
So funny
daughters.
you should ask, because I do have my wedding dress and had a friend that packaged it for
Mhm.
me. So it's been cleaned and sealed and boxed and it's set aside. But in going through the other things in the basement, I also had all my prom dresses. Now, the granddaughters tried on prom dresses
That's right.
and they're not in good shape. I mean, they weren't cleaned and boxed
They're
and
just pulling them out and putting them on.
yep, yep. And I do have a tub where we've shifted some fun things
Mhm.
for costumes
Oh, see, that's a great idea.
because the
Yeah.
kids like to play with that kind of
Yes.
stuff. And so we've shifted some things there. On the prom dresses, there were 2 that were in good shape,
Mhm.
1 that was in not really great
Yeah.
shape. But what they wanted me to do was take a picture of them.
Oh, that's so great. I
So,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah. So, I
Yeah.
think with some things, that's one thing I've been doing is taking a picture of it,
Mhm.
and then, I can upload it to a shared
Mhm.
area where all of the family members have
Yeah.
access to it.
I love that. That's a great idea.
So you still have the memory.
Yeah. Well, nobody wants my wedding dress. I don't want my wedding dress. One daughter's married. The other one, she's just like, if I get married, I get married. She wouldn't wear it. My granddaughter, she wants to just see it. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So one of the things that I'd seen is the necklaces that are like the origami.
Mhm.
Is that what it is?
Origami.
Or is it
The
origami?
owl,
Owl.
origami owl.
That's it. Origami owl. I was trying to put the 2 words
I
together.
know.
See, I barely speak English. Oh, so you get those, and then you take snippets of the wedding dress or the veil, and you put them in that, and then you give those to your
To
grandchildren or your
grandchildren or
children or whoever as a way to kind of preserve that
that
memory.
would be fun.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think that's what I'm going to do. I asked the
Yeah.
girls if they liked that idea. They were like, yeah, they thought that was better.
You could even do like a shadow box thing with a copy of your wedding picture
Hmm.
and a piece of the veil and a piece of the dress. That would be cool.
Mentioned that, and because I still have like some of the invitations, and they
They
just
weren't as
smile.
wild about that.
Well, no, they don't want it on their wall.
Oh, I guess.
So I'm like, okay, it's fine.
One of the things that we talked about too was military things
Mhm.
because as we were going through things, Tim has
Because your husband is former Marine.
former Marine,
He's not an ex-Marine.
right?
Do you never say ex-Marine? Marine. It's a
And
former Marine.
and active duty Vietnam. So has some memorabilia
Okay.
that really have some sentimental value
Yeah.
for the kids as well as have some historical value.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about what to do there because the other thing is I have 2 sons and both are interested.
Mm-hmm.
So you have
How do you
to
divide that
sort of
up?
look at how do you preserve something and share something as well.
Well, you
I
have
have to
an
tell you,
all-out. You have an all-out war. Because when my dad passed, my brother, they're in California, and my brother got everything. And so I'm like, fine, mom got he was in the Navy. And so they presented my mom with a flag. And I'm like, fine, then I just get that flag when you're gone. She's like, oh, great. Okay. Like, he can have all those things, but then I would like that.
but then in fairness,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Because he has some really cool things.
Well, and that's hard
Yeah.
because those are pieces of your dad's history.
Right.
I have to tell you, this is a really crazy thing that I'm struggling with are T-shirts.
Really?
And the reason the T-shirts are hard is they're generally from family vacations.
Oh, did you
So
make T-shirts?
so no, they're T-shirts that we bought,
Okay.
Hard Rock, Hawaii, Strawberry Fields in New York City.
Yeah.
I mean, they're T-shirts that memories are
Yeah.
linked to.
Yeah.
One of them's from when the 4 of us went to the David Letterman show. So the
Oh,
Letterman
you have the
T-shirt,
Letterman T-shirt.
and
Did I get one? I don't think I got one. If I did, I already got rid of it. I'm not a pack rat.
Well, I didn't,
do
but I
anything with
have
those.
this stack of T-shirts that no longer fit me, and I'm not sure what to do with them. I've looked into, they make quilts
Mhm.
sometimes from
Right.
T-shirts, and I kind of think that's a great idea, but I
It
kind of like
is.
the T-shirts.
Oh, you
So
could
I
make
don't know.
pillows. You can
I'm
make
struggling
pillows.
with that one.
Do pillows
Could do pillows.
because that would be kind of fun.
Anita, I've been married for 46 years. There are,
A
there
lot
are a
of
lot of
T-shirts.
T-shirts.
So if you have any ideas of what Mary
Yeah.
Lee could do with a T-shirt, drop
Please
us some
send
comments.
those in. Comment. And I, 'cause
Links are helpful.
I like the idea of a quilt, or I like the idea of
Would you ever
pillows,
sell
but
them? Because, like vintage T-shirts are like
I
a really
know.
big thing right now.
Yeah, yeah. I've got I've got a monkeys T-shirt that's
Course you
very
do.
old.
She
And
loves
there's,
the
there's
monkeys.
only one monkey left at
That's
this
right.
point. Probably the monkey T-shirts I'm holding on to.
Are you
I've
going to be
got a
buried in it?
Herman's T-shirt. There are a lot of T-shirts.
So okay, over under 100.
I think it's under 100,
Okay, over under 75.
or I think it's probably right at maybe a little under 75. It's
Okay.
definitely over 50.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of
That's
T-shirts.
a lot of T-shirts. Okay.
And not something that I expected as I was going through things that I would have any attachment to.
Yeah.
'Cause
But it brought those memories
it
up.
did,
Yeah.
and they're fun.
You know what might be a fun idea is maybe record yourself looking at those T-shirts and then tell the story
Of where they
of where that T-shirt came from, originated, and then you could give that to your kids.
my one son graduated class of 2000,
Mm-hmm.
and when he was a kindergartner, they gave him class of 2000 T-shirts.
So
So small class of 2000
that's like would
T-shirts.
fit on his arm now.
That's right.
Is it?
So it's Josh.
It's Josh. Okay.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
thinking maybe
So
if it was Justin, he does CrossFit. So
6'1"
Yeah.
guy. But his kids were just excited about that. So that's going in his box. I
There you
mean,
go.
there
Yeah.
are those kinds of things.
So then
But
it's his responsibility to get rid of.
It's up to him now.
There you go. I like
It's up
that.
to him.
I like
But I think those are the kind of things that, as you're going through this stuff that your
Mhm.
kids don't want, that you kind of have to take the time
Right.
and cull through.
Yeah.
There were some easy things that just, this needs to go.
Yeah.
And why do we have all these manuals to things that are appliances that we don't have any longer?
Yeah.
Why do we even keep those? There are those types of things. Records. We have records.
So that's really interesting that you say that, because my husband, Steve, just recently said he wanted to get back into vinyl. And he had a significant collection that at one point he got rid of. And now he's like, okay, I think I want to get back into that. And, he just doesn't do anything halfway. So you can't just be any record player. It has to be like a stereo system, and you have to have the equalizer, and you have the, blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. When you find that, let me know. In the meantime, we could start working on getting the records you want. So we went out and we looked a couple weekends ago. Or maybe it was just last weekend. And we were looking at the albums. And they were like $35.99.
Yes, they are.
I'm like, see, I remember buying that for like $5.99, $7.99. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's so expensive.
Yeah.
It's
They-
crazy.
Because there's a resurgence.
Right.
So it's what the
market will bear.
Because I also have cassettes that nobody wants.
Yeah.
But the vinyl, some of it, but oh my gosh, most of those, if I still have them,
Mhm.
I played them.
Right.
My Carole King tapestry is like worn out.
Yeah.
These were much like the Barbies. These are not
They're well
things
loved.
that were set aside to collect.
Right.
They were used.
They were loved.
But
Yeah.
as you go through things, you have to decide,
Yeah.
do your kids want that?
Yeah.
Do they need to go to someone else?
Right.
Are they in the shade that,
that they can go
that
somewhere
they're
else.
used to
You're right.
anybody else?
And I think we're so passionate about this topic because both of us have had to clean our parents' house or a friend's house. You've had to do both, a friend and a parent. And we were just like, oh my gosh, there's just so much stuff. Why didn't you get rid of this earlier?
Well, and in
Why
some
is this still
cases,
here?
it's overwhelming, you know?
Right.
And so I do feel very passionate about it
Yeah.
because I don't want my kids to have that experience.
Well, I remember when you were doing the friends and it was like, I'll come help you. It can't be that bad. It was. It was so bad that there would be not just one, but 2 magnifying glasses in each room by
Yeah.
each chair.
I
So
think
there would
I
be,
think we
and
counted over a dozen
yeah,
in
yeah.
complete.
And it's like, well, why does one person need so many magnifying glasses? And not glasses, but like the handheld Sherlock Holmes.
Yes,
Let me,
I did keep one.
well,
I
yeah,
keep one of
that was
those.
good. That
But
was good.
but
Yeah.
I think also sort of the sad thing was that there are stories that go with the things that each of us have,
Right.
that's really what needs to be shared.
Right. It's the
You know,
memory.
it's not the physical thing.
Right.
And if you do it yourself, you have the opportunity
Mhm.
to not let it get lost in a massive amount of
Right.
stuff.
Where people don't realize, that Letterman shirt is really cool.
Right. They just go, oh,
Yes.
send that off to,
Do you remember who we saw?
yes. Oh, I've lost her name.
Mandy Moore.
Mandy Moore. That was
And I
it. It
remember
was Mandy
thinking,
Moore
Mandy Moore.
because she wasn't that
She
big.
big then. She was kind of in between. She wasn't
My
singing
biggest
anymore.
memory is the theater, at Sullivan Theater
Yeah.
was so much smaller.
I know. And it was cold.
And it was cold. We'd heard it was cold. It
Yeah.
was very definitely cold.
It was like,
but it was like we were here and the camera was there and
Yeah.
Letterman was there. It was very small.
it was really fun.
It was cool.
Yeah.
I was glad
Yeah.
that we did it.
So that's a great t-shirt. I love that you have. We should hold that up and then take a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll have a memory of it too, because I probably got rid of the t-shirt
And
if I bought one.
and a Rod Stewart album because we
Oh
have
my
a Rod
gosh, we
Stewart
have a Rod
story
Stewart
that
story. Yes.
goes with that too.
We'll
So
share that. on a
longer
different
story
podcast.
about that trip to New York. But
And that is a
the-
great story.
the
We can tell that after they've met the husbands.
right.
Because then
But the point is that there are stories that go
Yes.
with these things. If there aren't stories,
get rid of it.
get rid of it.
Unless
The
it's
decision's
valuable.
easy.
Unless it's valuable. Do your
Unless
research.
it's got a value.
Do your research. Mary Lee is very good at doing research for like her items. Like she'll look at it, she'll be like, okay, this may or may not be worth something. She'll go online, she'll go on Google, she will do her research and she will say, okay, what I love about you is you will say, this water bottle is worth $5. Is it worth my time and energy to try and sell this for $5? Or is it better that I give it to somebody else? And I love that about you. You're very good at figuring out what the cost is, what it's worth, the value. That's what I'm looking for. And then you'll be like, okay, what
Then
is
you can
my
make-
time
Yeah,
value?
then you can make a decision.
Yeah.
But then it's an
great.
informed decision.
Right.
Then because I think the fear that people have is they hang on to things because they don't know
Right.
if it's got any value or not. And it's overwhelming
Mhm.
to sort of make those decisions.
Right.
And I think if you just take it bit by bit
Mm-hmm.
and ask those questions.
Yeah.
So we've got some tips for you to help you
Yes.
with what to do. We've got our 20 best tips for what to do with the stuff
Your kids don't want. Because we're apparently experts on that.
because at least our kids don't want.
That's right. Maybe your kids want it. So you can get that handout or download on our website, yoursilvercircle.com. And there'll also be a link to that here below in the show notes. And as always, we hope that you are enjoying your time with us as much as we're enjoying being together and sharing our journey with
And if you have a topic you'd like us to cover, it may be something we're not experts at, but we can research and
Yep.
find an expert or
And we know
search and-
people. We know a lot of people
that
we know.
that know things.
That's right. More
So-
than us.
So let us know if there's a topic you'd like us to cover. And as always, remember to follow and like the podcast if you enjoy spending time with us. And then you'll be notified
Yep.
when we've got a new
Yep. If you hit the
episode.
subscribe button, the little
Subscribe,
bell. Hit the
that's
little
it.
bell. Yep.
The subscribe button.
My granddaughter says, smash that button. I'm like, you watch too much YouTube.
And on our website, you can also sign up for a newsletter. Not going to be a frequent that we hit you with a lot of spam, but it does allow us to cover some topics a little more in depth.
Yep. Okay.
It's been great spending time with you.
Sure has.
Thank you. It's a wrap.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.